college. So it's where I became a newspaper reporter out of college.
Yeah.
Graduated on Sunday, went to work at a newspaper on Monday, and that's what I've been doing for most of my life.
Wow. But yeah. So, um, yeah, I'm still a little.
Yeah, I'm an old newspaper man.
Yeah. Yeah, an old newspaper man. So, let's let I guess like we could say. I mean, I don't know. Like, do you want to like begin from like the beginning of your career?
Uh, yeah, well, I can. It started off working small jobs,
Yeah.
work covering the stories in the suburbs of Southern California.
Yeah.
But I got my big break when I got to cover the waterfront.
The waterfront.
Mm-hmm. Signed to cover the harbor district of Long Beach and Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And one of the big stories that happened was a oil tanker blew up in the evening and nearly knocked out every window in the San Pedro area, and woke up my infant baby that I was trying to put to sleep, and I had to hand him back to his mother and say, "I'm out of here," because I had to go chase that explosion. It was beginning of my my interest and expertise in oil tanker safety and dangers, and that would bring me back to Alaska years later when the oil tanker Exxon Valdez ran aground and spilled tons of oil in the pristine waters of Alaska. So that's the good thing that came of that is that I met my wife there.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about how you guys met and everything. It's
Yeah.
really cool. You guys
Met in an elevator at the Captain Cook Hotel where the NTSB was holding hearings, and she worked for CBS News, and I worked for the LA Times still, and we were both chasing the same story.
Yeah.
It was a fortuitous event.
Okay.
Never got in an elevator with quite that much at stake. But anyway, she's been not only a great partner but an excellent editor, and she's been the editor of every page, the first editor of every page of every book I've written. So
wow.
She's important in ways that are unusual in most marriages, I'm sure.
Yeah. Wow, that's an amazing love story. But
there's lots of stories. Stories are my business. So
yeah,
what do you want to know about my stories?
Well, I guess
what's your favorite book?
Well, my favorite book?
Yeah,
like as in your books?
Yeah, just mine.
I guess the Devil Underneath the Table.
At the Devil's Table.
At the Devil's Table.
Yeah.
It's the first book I read.
Yeah, that one. That's the one about the fall of the last of the Cali Cartel, the biggest cartel at the time in Colombia.
Yeah,
and that story required access to someone who was in the middle of the cartel and who was in danger. His life was in danger, and he was taken into witness protection for his protection and his family's.
Can we talk about? Well, I guess can we talk about George, who George is? And
George Salcedo, he was he was head of security for the godfathers of the Cali Cartel. There were four godfathers, and George was in charge of protecting them and their families, which was, he had nothing to do with drug dealing. He didn't do that. He did not. He was also someone who didn't harm anybody. He wasn't one of their goons and killers, assassins. He was protecting their lives and their kids and their wives, and did a very good job of that, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So until one day he was he was assigned a something very different. He had to the accountant for the cartel had become a concern to the bosses. They thought he knew too much, or he wasn't trustworthy, or whatever it was. George was assigned to set him up for an assassin. This crossed the line for George, and rather than do that, he looked for a way to get out of the cartel. And getting out of the cartel meant you don't quit the cartel.
Yeah.
He had to bring the cartel down to get out of it. So he began looking for ways to essentially help law enforcement, either in Colombia or the U.S., to deal with the cartel, to bring it down so he and his family could make a new life and head to the States or wherever they were going to go. So it was, like I said, he went into witness protection once that happened, and I was approached by an old source of mine who helped me on other stories, who asked me if I'd like to meet someone in witness protection. Wow, that's like asking, would you like to score a touchdown, at the Rose Bowl or something. I mean, it's a reporter being offered access to someone whose life is in danger, that has such an important story to tell, was a no-brainer, of course. And so, yes. And so I flew off to Miami and went to a court hearing where George was appearing in public to have members of the Drug Enforcement Agency and United States Justice Department sing his praises as being such a big help to bringing one of the biggest crime syndicates in history down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I heard it officially. I heard it there in the courtroom, and it was the beginning of about a 5 or 6 year period of listening as often as George could talk to me. He would call me. I don't know where he lives now. I didn't know where he lived then. I couldn't go to him. He had to find me. So he'd call me at the newspaper every couple of weeks.
And this was it in 90?
Yeah, let's see. It started in the 90s. But it wasn't until early 2000 when the cartel bosses were extradited to the States. And at that point, we finally had here's our story. The Cali Cartel is now officially out of business because they kept running the cartel even in jail in Colombia. So once they were no longer able to do that, they were in prison in the United States. That changed the whole story. And now rather than just tell me great stories that were of adventures and dangers and near misses and being killed, they all had a reason to be. They were all part of the story of how George Salcedo managed to help bring down the cartel and get his life back to himself and get his wife and family out of Colombia and safe in the U.S. in some new identity. He's not George Salcedo anymore, but that's all I know him as. So it was a great story. I'm very proud of it, and he was able to tell me that story in great detail, along with the storytelling of DEA agents that helped me and told me their side of what was happening. So it's a story that then became season 3 of the Netflix Narcos series.
Yeah.
And I had the pleasure, the fun of being a consultant to that season, and working with the writers and the producers. So that also was a rare opportunity.
Yeah. That's cool. So when writing the book, did you ever like fear for your like life or anything like that? Like when you were like writing it or anything, or having any like repercussions?
Well, I thought it was a good idea that I didn't know too much. Yeah, it certainly was. I could have been kidnapped, or my family could have been, and theoretically, but I couldn't have helped get him. So it would have been a waste of time and my blood. So I didn't. I worried that someone might think that, but no, it's they had. The Marshal Service had George under complete protection, and wherever he is, he's still there. He calls me about once a year just to wish me happy, Merry Christmas or something. We still consider each other friends, even if we can't enjoy each other's company on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's cool. So you've been a LA investigative reporter for 36 years?
Yeah, well, I was at the Times for 36 years.
36 years.
Much of it was doing investigative work.
So, let's start with your first, what's like your first investigative report for the LA?
Oh goodness, I don't know.
Start from the beginning.
But when that oil tanker blew up, I became an investigator of things involving oil tankers.
Yeah.
And that meant that I traveled to Trinidad to cover a collision of tankers down by Tobago. It meant that I caught a ride on a oil tanker, super tanker that came down from Valdez, Alaska, to Long Beach with a load of 200 tons of crude oil.
Wow.
That was fun. I mean, I had my own ship. With the whole crew and the old captain, and we had some adventures there. We were just started out, and we encountered a hurricane-force storm. I mean, we had 80-mile-an-hour winds and 60-foot green cliffs of waves, and the old captain, I watched him carefully because I wanted to see if he was nervous. He would just sip his tea and said, "Wow, this is rare. We haven't seen it this far south before," or something like that. I mean, so he was never nervous, so I pretended not to be myself. But seeing these cliffs of green waves with foam smeared down the side, you got to be unhuman, and I think that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But then we got off of the entrance to the Seattle area, the Straits of Juan de Fuca, and the radar on the ship announced that we were on a collision course with a freighter inbound to Seattle. And the captain had radioed the other ship, and they said they'd change course, and okay, fine. And then they changed course, but didn't change it enough. And the radar flashed a warning that we were 4 minutes from collision.
Wow.
4 minutes from impact with his freighter, at which point the captain ordered a radical, hard right rudder, full speed ahead, and went out on the wing of the bridge deck and made a wave to the other ship.
Wow.
with his fist and gave him the finger. So, but it was kind of exciting to have a near collision at sea as well. So I think he was about to toss me and our photographer overboard, because having reporter there it was drawing a lot of stories.
Yeah.
You know, I think he kind of regarded me as Jonah, that he should toss me to the whale. But it was a great adventure.
Wow. Wow. And so that was like your adventure of the first
That was an early adventure.
early
Yeah.
adventure.
Then I've had the privilege of seeing a lot of places around the world. Travel a lot for the paper. The first book I did was
Marcos.
the Ferdinand Marcos story, that based on the Marcos diaries that I had exclusive access to.
So how did that come about? Like, because I know you traveled to the Philippines, right?
I did eventually. At first, I had to get the diary. Nobody had the diary, and the folks that were slipping it to me weren't authorized to let me have it. But over the span of about a week and a half, I would meet someone
Yeah.
who would have a sheath of pages from the diary, and I would have them long enough to photocopy those pages, and then return those pages and get another set. And there's about 2,500 pages, so this took a better part of a week and a half, and in chunks.
Oh, my bad. Sorry for interrupting. I was gonna ask. So, who is like Marcos and stuff? Like people who don't.
Ferdinand Marcos.
Ferdinand Marcos.
Well, Ferdinand Marcos sounds a lot like Donald Trump. He was elected president in a democratic process. He was elected twice, and like Donald Trump, he had a constitutional limit to how long he could be president. But he didn't want to. Marcos thought he was God's gift to the Philippines, so he wanted to have a third, fourth, fifth, how many terms he wanted. And so he set out to change the Constitution, and when he couldn't change the Constitution, he used his military to stifle dissent, because his countrymen were complaining. They didn't like him. He was taking away their freedom. He was arresting his enemies and his critics. You may have heard that happen.
Yeah, I did.
Places. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard that.
And so he used that as a pretext to impose martial law and arrest his enemies, shut the newspapers down so they couldn't criticize him, and turn those newspapers and news organizations on television over to his cronies and friends to run. And presto, the complaints and criticism stopped, and the Supreme Court allowed him to do that because some of the unrest that was happening justified his use of force and military. So I sit here watching the current news, thinking this I've seen this before. It was in the Philippines.
Yeah.
But anyway, that story turned into a book. We did stories for the Times about the diary. The diary was his own handwritten in English for the most part.
Wow. So
it was easy to read for a guy that did not speak Tagalog, so we and like a lot of politicians, Marcos didn't always tell the truth, even to himself, even to his diary. He would make things up.
Like what type of things?
Well, things like things that he was supposedly told were not things that were. He quoted sources and both his friends and his enemies that were taken out of context or provably erroneous. And when you have the advantage of history to look back at it and see things, it was easy to see that the diary was often the way he wanted to see it.
Yeah.
Not the way it was.
So when you were like scanning the diary, Like you said, you it took you a week, right?
Well, a little more than that. Yeah, yeah. Well, I felt like I was like a secret agent. You know, I'm having to meet these people who have the other pages. It's always at a different place. You know, different street corner in Washington, a hotel lobby, a restaurant. So it's like playing a game. You know, how much fun do you think that is? Getting a document that is um, so sensitive that the people giving it to you are having to do it in secret.
Wow.
Uh, I, uh, but having people trust a reporter is is a burden as well as an interesting thing. I mean, it's your responsibility to protect their identity and to treat the document with care, and was very important. But it was just so much fun. Sort of like the tanker ride from Alaska was such. So there are times in my career where I just felt like I should be paying the boss instead of him paying me. You know, this is just too much fun to be a paying job.
Yeah, investigating and stuff. So, can we like, I guess can we talk in depth about like Marquez?
What about him?
Like if we can talk in depth
Oh, sure. Well, he's
about like everything.
Ferdinand Marcos was eventually, he was eventually forced out by his own people revolting against his thievery, and I mean, he's making a fortune off of his country. He skimmed about $10 billion out of his own treasury. This is a poor country.
Yeah.
And you've got this billionaire making his fortune on them,
Yeah.
on the people that don't have it.
So like the Venezuelan president.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That the world's full of this sort of thievery and political malpractice.
So like when I guess when you were reading his diary, like how personal was it when you were like reading it, and when it came to like writing your book and stuff?
Well, I mean, it's all written in his handwriting. So he writes about his wife, his children. He writes about how he is God's gift to the Philippines, how only he can save it. And he wanted to save it from communism.
Yeah.
He wanted to save it from the left. You've heard that one, I think.
Yeah, I've heard that one plenty of times.
So he was everything that was against him, he blamed on the left.
Okay.
Every criticism was the left being unfair and lying. You may have heard that too.
Yeah, I've heard that plenty of times.
Anyway, I recommend Delusions of a Dictator just to read some very similar things in history that give me pause to this day.
Yeah, and I want do you think that this is like something that's repeating in history again? Same thing with Marquez.
Like I said, the similarities are depressing.
Yeah. Wow. Let's see. So you wrote this one. Then we were talking about Kirk.
Oh yeah. Well, this was my first book. The second book was the one from his Devil's Table about the Colombian cartel, and then I did that one for Random House. This was Little Brown, the publisher. Then Random House did the Colombian story, and then I had an editor at HarperCollins, another big publishing house, that wanted to do something with me, and we were talking about various things that didn't work or might work, and then Kirk Kerkorian, the entrepreneur and Armenian a champion of Armenian causes. Um, he died at the age of 98, and his obituary was prominently played in the New York Times. And that editor friend of mine from HarperCollins called me and said, I've never read a story about someone so interesting that I'd never heard of. And so she was just flabbergasted and wanted me to see if there was something I could do with that subject. Well, it turns out there's a lot. He grew up in California. His parents were Armenian immigrants, and he was a dropout from junior high school, who came from poverty and poor education to become a billionaire, self-made.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a good story.
Yeah, that is a good story. So, I mean, because we were talking about him like yesterday, right? Yeah, last night we were talking about him.
Yeah. I started making inquiries and was told that because Kerkorian was such a private person, he wasn't interested in life. During his life, he was not interested in fame or attention.
Yeah.
Even when he became the richest man in California back in the days when he bought and sold MGM, the studio, he built an airline of his own. Anyway, he made this $1 billion, his first billion on, I think, through the MGM. And then he was also the person who built modern Las Vegas. He really invented the family entertainment hotel.
Yeah.
And not just casinos, but a place to go for entertainment as well as gambling, as well as he built the hotel that brought Elvis Presley off of the movie circuit and put him back on the stage.
Really?
And boom, he had packed ballrooms for weeks, and he was instrumental, really, in reviving Elvis's concert tour career.
Yeah.
But he also was instrumental in helping launch that part of other stars as well.
So how did because I know that we were talking about him, and you said that he came from Armenia, from nothing,
Well, his family came from Armenia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kirk was born in Fresno, California, which is an area of a lot of Armenians came to the States through Central Valley of California. And once he was successful, he became an advocate of Armenian causes and became so he spent hundreds of millions of dollars on causes and charities, and even at Armenia itself, they had a big earthquake back in the 80s, and devastating earthquake, and he set up a airlift.
Wow.
To provide not only food and such for the victims, but also to help them rebuild the country.
Yeah. And so how did he come with his wealth? Because you said that was a long story.
Become with his wealth?
Yeah, like how did he become such a wealthy person?
It started when during the run-up to World War II, Kirk had fallen in love with flying. He got lessons in flying planes in the 30s, late 30s. So that was really long. Planes weren't much in those days. So he so when the war started in Europe and the U.S. was not yet in it, we were still building airplanes in the U.S. and supplying them to the British uh, for defense. And Kirk was among those who started flying airlifts, flying these planes right off the factory floor in the U.S. over to Scotland um, to provide replacements for all those planes that were being shot down in the early days of World War II in Europe. So he survived that. We had some great adventures. I mean, it's a wonderful story
Yeah.
about how daring he was and successful at that. But it set him up so that when the war was over, he built an airline out of mostly surplus planes that the military no longer needed.
Yeah.
And then he built it into a charter service. So his favorite was to charter folks to Las Vegas back in those days.
Okay.
And so he would fly people to Las Vegas in the days when it was still an old mob town, you know. Um, but the airline turned out to be very lucrative, and he had make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then he bought a piece of Western Airlines, which was a big deal on the West Coast, western part of the U.S. And so he was building, and then he put he was buying planes from TWA and others. So he was just putting together an Earth's girdling plane charters and airlines, and that was a big success. Then he started investing in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And some of those turned out to be instant successes of big money.
Like what?
Well, what was the first? He had a big piece of a couple of the casinos, but he built his own. That was the one that was called the International, and it's now the Hilton. I mean, it became the Hilton. I think it's something else now, but it was his hotel, and it had Elvis Presley, for goodness sakes, and other big names, and that just changed the whole way Las Vegas worked. People were coming from California to have vacations in Las Vegas, and he got rich. Howard Hughes was at the same period was buying other hotels. Kirk was building his own, but Howard Hughes was buying others, and between the two of them, you had these two extraordinarily wealthy men financing their own hotels and casinos, and what that meant was the mob that it had so much to do with the early days of Las Vegas was no longer necessary.
Yeah.
They didn't need the bank of mafia banks. They needed people like Howard Hughes and Kirk Kerkorian had their own, and so it was a changing of the guard in ways that was profound economically and freed Las Vegas largely of the crime syndicates and their influence. Not entirely, but it was a process, not an instant thing, but it was telling.
Yeah.
And important trend.
And why do you think he was like really privative of like him not being like publicized and stuff? Or like what's that about?
He was very shy. He didn't give speeches. They make him nervous. He was just naturally shy.
Really?
And that was a big part of it. But also, once he was wealthy, he didn't want to be bothered by people constantly bugging him for help.
Yeah.
He was very generous. He was giving it away as fast as he could in some cases. But he didn't want to be expected to be the touch.
Yeah.
But he was giving money to political people, both sides.
Yeah.
He was financing hospitals. He was eventually he was seen as a saint in Armenia for that work, funding the recovery from the earthquake. But he was uncomfortable being the center of attention, and it's kind of charming.
Yeah. That's cool. It's cool. It's like he's being mysterious.
Yeah.
It's all
It
mysterious.
wasn't that he was. I mean, he also, he had an 8th grade education. I think he had a sort of a complex
Yeah.
about his ability to speak, to be smart, to not use the wrong words. I mean, there was that, but he was also, by all accounts, a perfectly charming man. So he was. He had a sister who was a pistol who lived to be 102. And I
Wow.
think they had good genes because he went to 98. But the sister was always encouraging him to do more and do this and do that. But they loved each other and they were pals. And she was outgoing and he wasn't.
Wow. That's amazing. That's an amazing guy. So
Well, I should mention that as a young man, he also was a boxer.
yeah.
So he was a feisty guy, and he got a nickname. That was one of his prides was that he was Rifle Right Kerkorian.
Rifle
He had a
right.
rifle right Kerkorian. Yeah, and he liked that more than money. And
Wow.
that was such a source of pride. And as a young amateur boxer, he did very well.
Yeah.
His brother, a little older brother, was a boxer and had brain damage from his days as a boxer. But Kirk got on to making money and preserved his health.
Yeah.
And he also discovered tennis.
Really?
Yeah, he was an early tennis fan and player, and it was to him like boxing. A lot of you're taking swipes at each other, but it's with the tennis ball, and he regarded the strategies and the endurance and stamina and all that of tennis to be very similar to boxing.
What? That is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. So him being all shy and stuff, he like and like being a boxer, like he was, that's a crazy mix.
It's one-on-one. It's not it's not like you're giving a speech to a crowd.
Yeah.
That would terrify him.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Because him being a billionaire and all, I feel like like you have a different like way of how you carry yourself and
he had an office in downtown Beverly Hills, and when he went to lunch, he walked from his office 2 or 3 blocks. He did not have an entourage. He did not have a bodyguard. He would just walk down the public street and grab a lunch. But so he wanted to be perceived as he was. He's just a regular guy.
yeah, a regular Joe.
Yeah, I mean, he drove Fords and Chevys. He didn't buy Rolls Royces.
Wow. Wow.
He was just down to earth, regular guy
Man,
with a couple of $1 billion.
a couple $1 billion sitting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he is at the height of his state of wealth. He was credited with having, I think, 20 billion, according to one of the magazines.
Wow. That is extraordinary.
You can't give it away fast enough to make a difference. Yeah.
Wow. Was he a Christian man or?
I I would say he was supportive of the Armenian Church. Yes,
Okay.
um, and he was kind and generous. So
Yeah.
in that sense, he was, you know, Christian-like.
Yeah, Christian, like, wow, that's cool. Like you never, like, I guess, like, you never see that, like, right now. Well, I'm
Oh.
pretty sure there's people like that, but like we're like closed doors and stuff. But
Yeah, he was not a fan of our current billionaire president. He was not. His manner and his, Trump Tower. There was never a Kerkorian Tower.
yeah,
There was never, his name was never on anything.
wow,
Kirk was loved to build things,
yeah,
loved to have things built, but he was never the one to put his name on it. And in fact, he made a point of not doing that, of making sure things were. He had a couple of foundations that were just named after his daughters that funded things that didn't say Kirk or Kerkorian on either one on any of it.
Wow.
So, and one of the terms of the gift was often, but you can't say where it came from. So he would specifically order, as a term of the gift, not to share who gave it to him.
wow.
Imagine that.
What a humble guy.
Yeah, we don't see that today.
No, we don't. No, yeah, because like I feel like a lot of people, like, with that much amount of money, you know, you'd be buying like the most expensive cars. You have like the whole car
Yeah.
collection, and
Yeah. Well, Kirk had his own airplane too, but it didn't say Trump
or Kirk or anything like that.
Whatever. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool. So, so whenever you got landed the story of him, like, how was it, like, because I know we talked about it like yesterday.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, when I first accepted the challenge
Yeah.
of doing this book, I thought, oh, good, I can do this in
Yeah.
a year. 6-8 months of research, and then I'll write it. And because he's a famous guy, that a lot of people know him. And I put out a request to a couple people I know who are my friends and my sources and stories, to reach out to people they knew in the Trump organization. And a woman who was essentially his wasn't a CEO, but she was his lawyer, and running the once he was passed, she was taking care of settling his estate. And I wanted to talk to her first. That was my first hope. And a friend asked her to call me on my behalf. And she's called me
yeah,
and said, so nice to talk with you. I just want you to know that while I'm sure you're a fine reporter, we're not going to help you. Nobody is going to help you.
and they threw it to the
Kirk
wolves.
did not want to be famous, and he did not want to be interviewed, and we're not going to be interviewed on his behalf. So no one's going to help you. At which point I realized, well, this is going to be a whole lot harder than I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's going to be more like investigative reporting. I'm getting a story that nobody wants me to have. So it would take me 2 years to do it, not just the one that I had settled on.
6 months.
Yeah, I didn't. It was a long haul, but there were a lot of people that wanted to share their the reasons why they so admired Kirk.
Yeah,
People throughout his life, people who knew him closely. I mean, they were people who lived with him, people who married him, people who were his lawyers and his friends. So I found it took longer.
yeah,
They didn't necessarily come to me. I had to find them, but that's what a reporter's job is. So I did it like a reporter again.
Yeah.
So I really liked who I found.
Yeah.
Kirk Kerkorian was a great American,
Yeah.
great Armenian for that matter. So
Great Armenian.
I think his story is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And inspiring.
Inspiring that from coming from nothing to building one of the or building what is the modern Las Vegas.
Yeah. Well, he was considered the greatest deal maker in capitalist history by some.
Yeah.
And I would have to agree.
Yeah, we'll have to agree as well. Just building a whole empire and stuff and being
Yeah.
so humble enough not to be
In
known.
Las Vegas, of all places, where everybody puts their names on their building.
Yeah.
There's a Trump Tower there too. Yeah.
But that's cool. So, you being an investigator or reporter, like, or for your whole career, like in the beginning, like, did you ever get discouraged or anything, or like, did you ever like hope to like, I guess in the beginning, like, did you ever hope to like be at where you are right now?
Oh, I couldn't have imagined it. No, this wasn't it's a dream. So I had so much fun and satisfaction feeling like that I'm doing something that exposes the wrongdoers, that challenges the powerful. Those are just so much fun when you pull it off.
Because I saw that. Well, we were talking and I saw that about the Las Vegas judge that was corrupt.
The judges?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we.
How did that happen?
Well, this is a story that was started before 9/11 and then paused while we covered those issues and terrorism, but went back to it. And my partner and I spent a lot of time in Las Vegas. He lived in Las Vegas as a kid, so he had an advantage that most reporters don't. And we were looking into the hometown judges who have conflicts of interest that they don't declare, and gives them they do favors for people that they know.
Yeah.
This was sort of part of the hometown benefit of having your hearings before judges that were friends of your lawyers or friends of your partners or whatever. Anyway, that story turned out to be a 3-part series that ended up the Supreme Court of Nevada issued new rules for judges. It was a great eye-opener. Earlier this year, there was a fellow who just did a musical based on the hometown judges of Las Vegas. He said our story inspired him. He did, I haven't seen the show, so I can't speak for that. But it was the story of Las Vegas justice was my last investigative project before I retired and went to the books full time.
Wow. So what happened with the judges? Like, what was going on that?
Well, the conflicts of interest can be really pretty subtle. It's just that they're making calls on weighing the who's going to get screwed by this decision, and if it's a friend of Las Vegas, a friend of their. I mean, one of the judges, for instance, he went from being a state judge to being a federal judge, but as a federal judge, he would often have bankruptcies that he was dealing with, or companies that were being put out of business for whatever reason, and this judge would constantly name as the bankruptcy manager or whatever they called him, the accounting crowd. He would reach out and nominate or name his former law firm to have the job. So it's lucrative. I mean,
Yeah.
that law firm was making a ton of money. Now, it's not illegal. It's not. It's not corruption exactly, but it was favoritism,
Yeah.
and he was favoring a law firm that he had benefited from, and some degree, he could have still been benefiting from that law firm doing well.
Yeah.
But it was, at the very least, a conflict of interest, and he should have been passing those assignments around to other law firms at least.
Yeah.
And he was doing his law firm.
Wow.
That's typical.
Yeah.
But there were so many examples of conflicts of interest that it filled three big stories
Wow.
on the front page of the paper. Even the Las Vegas Review, the big local daily, they reprinted our 3 stories in a special edition, in a special section, and ran it again after we were done doing it. So it got some great coverage.
Wow. That's
So you feel, those are the kind of things that make you feel good.
Yeah.
You feel like, well, truth was shared, and there's nothing quite as satisfying to a reporter.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. What do you think about journalism right now? Because I know there's a lot of like cancellation. People don't want to talk about like certain topics and stuff because they're afraid, and they're I guess the press they work at, they don't want to publish certain type of stories.
Well, the press, there's a difference between the press and the publishers of the papers.
Yeah.
The press being the reporters and the diggers. Reporters are troublemakers. That's an instinct that lends itself to people getting into the news business. But it's not because they want to lie; they want the truth. And the problem is when the truth interferes with people in power, you end up with some of what we've been seeing more recently. And if we are going to be a nation that wants the truth, that relies on the truth, we have to have a press that's free to write the truth, or publish the truth, or broadcast the truth, whatever the mode. So if the billionaire owners are cowardly or have their own agenda that they can change or dictate, that's not a recipe for truth.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, newspapers no longer are supported by advertising. It wasn't a conspiracy that did this. It's the internet that changed everything. And newspapers were financed by lots of ads, and all ads from everybody from all sides of the political spectrum, ads for every kind of product. There's those ads made newspapers completely independent of powerful forces, except if the publisher for some reason was Rupert Murdoch or someone with a political agenda.
Yeah.
Those were existed too, but papers are no longer financed the same way, and if to the extent that subscribers have to pay for their news, they can't afford it.
Yeah.
Subscribers could not have afforded my reporting. I was an expensive reporter.
Yeah.
Not because my salary was big, but you can't travel all over the world chasing stories, or be in another town. You're living in a hotel. That is not economic ultimately. If the subscribers have to front those bills.
Yeah.
So I don't think the golden age will come back until we find a way to finance the news without all the strings attached.
Yeah, because when we were eating at Bob's, you asked me the question, and you asked me like, what's one way you're gonna find the solution? It's a tough solution.
Yes, someone who I hope can find that. You do it.
Okay.
You do it. I'm too old.
Yeah, because that's a tough solution of like trying to figure out like a way of like funding things without there being an agenda or without like big corporations and stuff, because that is difficult.
It hasn't been discovered, I don't think yet. Certainly, there must be a way to mitigate all the conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
But I mean, see, I got kicked out of the White House, not by a right-wing president,
Yeah.
but by Bill Clinton's staff.
Really?
Yeah.
How did that happen? I saw that you did an investigation with the Clinton or something like that. Where you guys exposed something.
I was actually in 1992 sent into the election year that he was first elected. I was sent into to Little Rock over my objections to dig into the womanizing stuff about Clinton, and the Jennifer Flowers scandal had broken during the primaries, and I just that I didn't want to do a sex story. I just this is not journalism to me.
Yeah.
But I had to go to Little Rock and start digging, and I found all kinds of things that needed to be checked out of, questionable conduct, relationships, unrelated to womanizing. Although I heard a lot of that too. I didn't meet anybody who didn't have some story to tell me about some woman somewhere in Bill Clinton. But that wasn't my interest. It was the more broad. Here's the guy who wants to be president. What's he done as a governor?
Yeah.
But we were. But that was the preface, and I ended up in Little Rock writing stories about Bill Clinton right up to the election. I was on Nightline. I was on Chris Matthews. I was on all these shows because I was breaking stories that no one else had.
Yeah.
He won the election anyway, and then he was in the presidency and in the White House for about a year, and the womanizing story, something that was dubbed Troopergate, broke. We did it. We broke it, me and my partners, and it was that Clinton, as governor of Arkansas, had used his trooper guards as protective units, used his troopers to introduce him to women, to pick up women on the road. I mean, it was just, and to protect him from discovery, and to protect Clinton from him from having his wife discover him.
Yeah.
So it was a terrible story. It was messy. It was sex. It was just, I didn't like doing it. It was the worst story I ever had found myself doing. It was not fun.
Yeah.
But in the end, we were at the White House. My partner and I were at the White House talking to his staff just before the story was to publish in the Los Angeles Times, and they just got tired of us asking these questions and persisting until finally, Bill Clinton's personal lawyer and advisor turned to us, and in front of other members of his staff, just turned to us and said, and I quote, "Get out of here," and "Get out of here."
Yeah.
So that's what I say. That's when we stepped out of his office into the aisle of the West Wing, where if we'd gone left, we'd have gone to the Oval Office, and go to the right, we're heading for the exit. And I said, "Doug, we just been kicked out of the White House." And so it was it was a highlight and a low light all at once.
Wow. That's cool. I didn't know that. And like, what do you think? Like, I know that in the news that they picture Bill Clinton hanging out with Epstein.
Yeah. Well,
what do you think about that?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about Epstein? Did he ever like investigate him and stuff? Or?
No. Thank goodness. I hope someone else does.
Yeah.
But I've done enough in that world too. But yeah. I mean, it's a fact of political life that politicians, Trump told us this, that they let you grab them, and women will let you grab them because you're a celebrity, and so is the president. I mean, so it's true that there are men that take advantage of women, and there are people that take advantage of young women to serve these old dudes. But the Epstein story has probably not been told fully yet.
Yeah. Or they probably need someone like you, Mr. Rendell.
They've got young ones. There's a lot of them out there. I'm interested in being a reader.
That's awesome. But wow, the Clinton. Is there any like reporters that you look up to?
Oh, a lot of them. Yeah, I mean they're the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. They've all had great reporters. One of my favorites from he was with the Wall Street Journal, and now he's at the New York Times, or if he's written for them recently, was James B. Stewart, who came to the L.A. Times long time ago when I was a youngish reporter, and he had read some of my stuff and gave me some pointers, and it was some really simple stuff about how to write, improve your stories.
Yeah.
And he gave me some advice that I clicked right in, and it's been part of every story I've done since, every book I've done has benefited. One of these days I'll find him again, and we'll talk about it. But I owe James B. Stewart thanks from way back in the early days of my career.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old is he now?
Well, he's older than I am.
Wow.
Put it that way, and that's old enough.
Yeah, and he's still living and everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
I haven't read the paper today, but no, he has a recent book about MGM. I think the studio, the company.
Yeah.
That's a tour de force. So he always does books that are tour de force.
Yeah.
It's the journalism world still has good people, and the question is how free are they, and what's the outlet they can use? In television, as Scott Pelley and at CBS we ran into each other in Little Rock back in the day.
Yeah.
As he was poking around, while I'm poking around.
Yeah.
So I've in 60 Minutes, Bill Whitaker is a fantastic reporter, still on 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's I think there's lots of talent. It just needs a home.
Yeah.
And to be fostered by people that aren't cowardly about the truth.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, that's
Leave it at that.
Yeah, really. Yeah. And what's it called? What what were like some of your like your big projects that you were a part of, like during the golden era?
Well, terrorism.
Really?
Yeah, I was working on stories about Osama bin Laden 2-3 years before 9/11.
Oof. I was going to say, like, because I remember reading about this, that the United States knew about what's it called, Al Qaeda and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't do anything about it. And that they kept getting, I guess, like this is what I read. I'm not sure how true this is, but that one of the things with Al Qaeda was that they let their enemy know, hey, we're gonna go attack. Hey, we're gonna go attack, and I heard that like the United States kept getting emails of like them saying, hey, we're gonna do a big attack, and they ignored it.
I don't know about the precise truth of that, but they were being pretty open about their about who their friends and enemies were.
Yeah.
And so they did attack the U.S. Back in the 90s when they blew up a ship, a Navy ship, the USS Cole. They blew up a U.S. embassy in North Africa. I forgot where it was.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that, but anyway, but an American embassy, and so we were looking at, well, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Thing. So I arranged for a private interview. They're all private, but I mean an interview with someone who didn't do interviews.
Yeah.
He was he was the head of Saudi Arabian intelligence, and so I went over. That was my only trip I've had to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. But I was able to sit with him for about an hour, and he told me stories about how the Saudis were trying to get the Taliban to turn over bin Laden to them.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't. And but it gave us a reason to talk about in a nice front page story about efforts to rein in Osama bin Laden and ran the Al Qaeda crowd, and it wasn't working. But it was, there he was on the front page of the Times about this guy's targeting us, and it ran in March of 1999. So
Wow.
it's 2.5 years
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
His troops plow into our trade centers. So reporters are doing that now. That kind of stuff is happening.
Yeah.
It's happening with big outfits that are still able to. I do read the papers every day. So New York Times and the LA Times are out there on the table.
Oh yeah, I did see them. You got them laid out flat.
Yeah, the real paper. Yeah, it's amazing. Sometimes I read so much of it on my phone that I just process the paper into these recycling pit. But I still love having the paper land on my doorstep.
Wow, because that's cool. So I've read that you're an old school investigator still. so what's the difference between being old school and no school? Is there a difference or no?
I don't know. I'm proud to be old school.
Yeah, whatever.
it's I mean, it's one step at a time. Not taking shortcuts, I guess, but investigative reporting is, you need patience. You need a certain amount of salesmanship. My dad was much of his life was a vacuum cleaner salesman. He knew how to get in the door, and I feel like I learned a few things from him too. So getting in the door sometimes is the most important thing.
The most important thing, having that little bit of salesmanship.
Yeah, I couldn't sell a vacuum cleaner if it was required to save my life, but I can sell getting the story out, getting the truth, and there are a lot of people that appeals to. So, fortunately, I think that's why it's going to survive.
Yeah, that's pretty true. But yeah, man, I've been loving California. This is such
come on out. This is the land of milk and honey.
Yeah. This has been so cool.
Yeah, and you know, it's a place that admires entrepreneurship as well as creativity. And, so it's and the sun shines mostly.
Yeah, it does. It's been an amazing experience for you. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll welcome you with open arms.
Yeah.
Bring your friends.
But yeah, this has been cool. But let's see. I thought about some other questions.
Well, run them by me.
Okay. So all right. So we talked about like what it's like what it takes to be an investigator and stuff. I think you
Well,
kind of answered that.
well, and open to facts for one thing, and
Yeah.
where to look for them, and how to test for them.
Yeah.
You have to, and don't take for granted anything you've heard or read until
Yeah.
you've verified it.
Yeah.
Um, there's there's certainly, to the degree that people take shortcuts, is if they are not digging deep enough to really test
Yeah.
what they've learned or in one place or another. But when you've got 2 or 3 sources saying the same thing, you can at least have some confidence that
Yeah.
it might be close to the truth, if not dead on. So it's I think it comes in handy even for somebody who's not a reporter. You know, if you're going to invest in something or buy a house, whatever, you want to know all the details that you can come up with.
Yeah.
You want to know if the plumbing's been going out for the last guy. You know, if the roof needs repair before you put your money in it. So it's called investigating on the one hand. You could say it's just checking things out.
Yeah. Wow. So from transitioning from journalism to book writing, like how was that? The whole
Well, it's a
transition?
very long story. I mean,
We have
the
time.
stories in the books are long. A story in a newspaper, a long story is just maybe a couple of jumps. It's a story in the newspaper might be equivalent to a chapter in a book, but the degree of detail is much more demanded in a book, and in spinning out the story so that it's compelling and dramatic or funny or whatever it is, you need to do an awful lot of investigating, and a lot of research.
Yeah.
We call it research, and that's, if you delight in research, you should be a reporter or a writer, because I love that part.
Yeah.
Finding things out, little details. I'm I don't know if I should. No. Uh, you can just edit this part out.
That's cool.
But I was just wondering if I should talk about the book that I wrote as a ghostwriter.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're welcome to. I mean, I don't. I mean, it depends on you, and we can talk about it. If not, you know, 'cause
Yeah.
it's pretty.
Well, it's an important story.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind talking about it. Because I guess my platform's open to like things and stuff. So.
Well, I'll keep it general as much as possible. But my most recent book does not have my name as the author because I'm a ghostwriter
Yeah.
on this book. But it's an important story that I thought needed to be told.
Yeah.
And it's the author is Clark Fredericks, and the name of the book is Scarred, as in Scarred for Life.
Scarred.
Yes,
Okay.
just Scarred, one word. And he's a kid from New Jersey who was sexually abused by a cop in the little town he grew up in, who was also a scout master. He was a friend of all the parents in the town, but he was molested, and it turned out other kids like him were molested in that town. And when he grew up, and when Clark grew up, 30 years later, he's been dealing with denial and shame from the molestations, and he's addicted to every form of drugs and alcohol, gambling, and women. He's had a tough life.
Yeah.
And he's angry and afflicted. He gets his scout knife that this guy taught him how to sharpen, and took it to his house. And 30 years after the molestation, he kills the guy that abused him.
Damn.
A retired cop at this point. So he's a cop killer.
Yeah.
He ends up being going to jail, going to prison.
For how long?
Not much. He did 5 years for
5 years?
murder. Yeah, because of the sympathy factor. So it turns out the pedophile that he had been molested by got exposed by others. Other people came forward who had also been abused, and it turns out that everybody wanted to acquit him. Even the prosecutor decided that he wasn't going to try to get him on murder charges.
Yeah.
He agreed to a plea deal for manslaughter. And Clark goes to prison where it essentially saves his life because he finally gets, he hasn't told anybody about this, what motivated him to kill the guy until he killed him. He had never told anybody, not his mom and dad, not his friends, not his girlfriend. Nobody did he tell about being molested as a 8, 9, 10, 12-year-old. So this story is about his recovery. It's about his anger, his rage, but it's mostly about how going to prison ended up saving his life. And he's become an advocate for victims, and it's a dark story that turns out to be quite an inspirational story. And
Wow.
I got to know him by having to interview him and all of his family, all of his friends, and the cops that arrested him, the prosecutor that prosecuted him, all sides of the story, and his mom, his sister, and so it was a piece of reporting work that was made possible because he wanted his story told.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to woo anybody to help me here. This was people coming forward to be helpful.
Yeah.
And it was just my responsibility to put it into a story form. And so it was done in his voice. It was all written first person, so that and he has the audio book that's part of that story is in his voice. So this is a story for anybody that's ever been molested or had a trauma, childhood traumas. His courage telling his story was fantastic. And so, from the standpoint of being a story writer, I had everything. And every time, as we were putting the story together, we would have these long interviews on the phone for the specific place in the story that I was writing that day, so that it was going deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
He wrote a lot of his story in sort of a diary forms, or he started writing about what his memories of and traumas when he was in jail, in prison. So he was starting to get ready to tell his story way before I met him. But it was, for me, I don't think I've ever written a better storytelling than this one, and it's all because he's so detailed and his life is so remarkable. But it's the book that's out now.
Yeah.
And in fact, its pub date was July 29.
Oh wow, that's my birthday. That's so cool. July the 29th on my birthday. Wow. Like, did you feel anything like because of like when he was telling your story, or when you were like I guess like asking him questions and stuff to go in detail? Was there any part of you that were like that?
Well, I was aghast, appalled, or impressed. It was full of it, but I have to say, that listening to the book, listening to him tell the story that I helped him write,
Yeah.
was like nothing I've ever done before, and I found it more emotional to hear it than to write it.
Yeah.
Because in writing it, it was, that's different, a whole different muscle. It's it was outrageous. I mean, I can tell you that I knew it was dramatic. I knew it was in some cases comical, but I didn't appreciate it like I did when I listened to it.
Yeah.
And listened to him telling it. It just brought it to life. So I'm proud of the work I did to help set it up. But he's the one that it's his story. And,
Wow.
and he lived it, and he tells it, and he's a remarkable person.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome. Shout out to Clark for writing his book.
Yeah, he's out on the speaking circuit because he's become such a in-demand speaker about childhood trauma that he's speaking to crowds of hundreds of people at a time.
Wow. Wow.
All
That takes
over the country.
Yeah, because that takes like a different type of person. Because I've met people who've gone through some similar things like that, and they never want to talk about it.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, get Clark to come on your show.
I should. I'm gonna reach out and be like, hey, get on my show.
Yes. Well, you'll be impressed and inspired, and it's he's the real deal.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I haven't read it yet, so I'm gonna take the time to read it.
Take one home with you.
Yeah, I take one home with me. But yeah, let's see. I don't know.
We've done a lot of storytelling here.
Yeah.
But we can, if you think of something, give me a call.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I guess it's the end of the third episode, I guess.
Well,
so I really appreciate.
Unless we think of something else.
Yeah, unless we think about something else. Well, I really appreciate you inviting me and taking me here and there. Like, I really, really appreciated it. I really didn't think I was gonna have an opportunity to interview you.
Well, Jordy, you're very welcome.